This is Marcus Corva with MMAnytt, and we're going to try to keep it civilized in here today with both Daria and Maria Rios and Terrion Ware, who are both on the RFA card that's going to happen here in Orange County next Friday. Welcome both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's a pleasure to have you. And Daria,
yes,
you train a lot with Maria.
I do. I take her punishment fairly often.
Yes, and obviously we all train together, but you especially because you run the same way, and you know of Jocelyn, who she's fighting as well, who's actually gotten a lot of hype out of Las Vegas. She's for in on the amateur circle in Vegas for a long time. What do you think of that fight?
It's going to be a good one. I mean, Jocelyn Jones-Lybarger is 4-1.
Yeah.
Maria's 2-0. I mean, they're both tough girls in this up-and-coming 115-pound division, the strawweight division, which, in my opinion, is one of the scariest divisions in women's MMA, one of the most talented as well. And, Jocelyn's a good wrestler, but Maria's just all over well-rounded, and I'm not just saying that because she's my training partner. She's tough against the cage. She's tough on the ground. She's skilled on the ground. She's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and her striking is fierce. So I'm definitely going to go with Maria Rios here, not just because she's sitting next to me and could possibly harm me in the next following moments.
I'm sitting next to her.
But no, I think it's going to be a really entertaining fight, and it's going to make some movement in that division in the RFA and possibly the UFC soon.
And Maria, I'm sure you are very well aware that RFA is a way into the UFC, and this is your third professional fight, and you must notice the difference in media attention. How are you handling it?
Just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of attention. It's not really. It doesn't really make that big of a deal to me. So.
She just rolls with it.
I just roll with it. It don't matter. I kind of like it.
You like it?
I love the attention.
Comments on your opponent?
Pretty much the same as Daria said. I know that she's a good wrestler. Her striking's pretty decent, but makes for a good upset. So.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you think that upset's going to come along?
Me winning.
Right. But how will that W come along?
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty good striking match there, and I think I'm going to come out victorious.
Do you think there'll be a decision?
I think she's
Stoppage?
hitting towards like a TK.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a decision. I definitely don't want there to be. So I've been focusing on that not happening a lot. So.
And what do you feel that you have worked on since your last fight that you did win by decision?
Overall, I've been doing a lot of striking, a lot of clinch work, keeping up on everything else that I'm already, good at, I guess. Jiu-jitsu, yeah. But yeah, mostly my stand-up, clinch, everything like that.
Terrion, what's your opinion on Maria Rios?
Funny enough, I told this to two people the other day that there's like two people in the gym that I'm scared of, and she's one of them.
The other one's a girl too.
But no, I mean she does things you can't really teach. Like, I mean, obviously she's good, she's well rounded everywhere, but there's just certain little things that like you don't have to say to her that she'll do. Like in certain spots, like you can have her back, she'll elbow you in the nose, and make you rethink what you're doing. Put a lot of pressure on you. There's a lot of little things that she does that you can't really teach fighters. You can kind of say, hey, do it, but she does it not only just in the training, but she does it in the fight. And I think that makes a big difference. And so I mean, she's definitely skilled, but she just has that thing you can't teach.
And let's talk about your fight. You're the main event yet again. For RFA, which is you fought for RFA before, you won the main event. Now you're in the main event. You've been in the main event for both Bama, for Tachi Palace. What does this mean for you being the main event for RFA?
It's awesome. It's just again, like you said, I've main evented for other shows, and now to get to main event for pretty much the biggest smaller show outside of the UFC. It's an honor that they put me in that light, and they think that I could, bring enough attention to, to be the main event and be on the headline of a lot of things. And, I'm excited.
Good to hear. And what about your opponent, Joe Murphy?
He's good, man. He's well rounded. He has good power in his hands. He's a good grappler. So it'll be a fun fight, and we'll both bring it, and it'll be a good show for everybody.
Did you watch his last fight? I know you watched it, or you were
Yes.
at RFA last time. It was an uppercut at the end of that fight. Were you there?
Yeah, I was there. I was there. I saw it, and then he caught his guy. I mean, I wasn't. It doesn't worry me or anything like that. I mean, I fought better strikers than him, and I think that that I've hit harder and that I've beat. So, still with that said, I mean, with those little gloves, anybody any day can get caught. So, I'm not gonna say, that I'm not, at all worried about his striking or anything like that. Or, I'm definitely, thinking of it, and I treat it I treat every opponent that I face, with all seriousness, and I treat them like they're the best fighter in the world, and I prepare that way. So if I go out there and I make it look easy, I make it look easy. If I go out there and it's a war, then it's a war. But I'm always preparing for for someone that to be their best on that day.
Is it nice to get a chance to go back to a 3-round fight?
Yeah, my last 3-4 fights have been 5-round fights, and it's having to do 5-minute rounds for 8 weeks against the people that we have training at Systems who are all monsters. It's depressing. My Fridays are depressing. I spend I pretty much work all week, and Friday afternoon is like my first day off during the week, and it's like in the evening at least, and it's just spent sleeping.
And here you are doing a podcast with us. Thank you very much for that.
No problem.
And then some cardio, right?
Yes.
You're not done for the night.
No, not done for that at all.
I need some cardio as well. So Daria, who's a statistics expert, tell us about Terrion's last few fights.
Okay. Well, he fought Joe Soto, who, as you guys know, got that last-minute title shot against T.J. Dillashaw, which people thought he was going to do horribly, considering the difference, considering he was making his UFC debut at a title shot for the bantamweight division. That being said, he actually held his own, and comparing that to Terrion's fight with him, we think Terrion would have done pretty good because it was a clinic on the feet with Joe Soto and Terrion Ware, although he took the loss there. His fight was definitely one to speak about.
And before that, you were on a 6-fight winning streak.
Yeah.
Fight.
And you are presumably not looking for a decision win on next Friday?
Never. I mean, if you ever watch any of my fights, the entire time I'm trying to finish somebody. One of the things that you always hear me say is just one of my favorite things that I heard Mario Ronaldo say about Nick Diaz. He tries to crash CompuBox. That's my thing. I try to crash CompuBox, and for those who don't know what that means, CompuBox is pretty much it's the punch and strike stats that are taken during the fight, and I try to just throw as many strikes as I possibly can during that entire fight, and I'm trying to finish. I prepare hard, I train hard. I get my cardio to the point where it's ridiculous, to where I can go a full 5 rounds of. If I have to throw 100 punches per round, that's what I'm trying to do. And, I'm always trying to finish. So, I just can't help it. This is my style, so I'm always trying to finish the fight.
Besides being well-rounded and prepared before each fight, are you one of those fighters that goes into each fight with a specific game plan? Or do you kind of go in there, feel it out, and go with it?
I don't anymore. I used to in my amateur career, and it bit me in the ass a couple times because I would overstudy. I would study so much to the point that I would know what my opponent likes to do, but I'd go in there kind of waiting for them to do that.
Okay.
And in this sport, guys they're always trying to improve on their last fight. So I'm going in there looking for all the holes in their game, their weaknesses, and sometimes it didn't occur. And I ended up going 6-6 as an amateur. I mean, largely due to the fact that I fought a lot of guys who had years of experience on me, but skill wise, I felt I was better than pretty much all those guys. But I lost just due to, again, just going and looking for stuff and always being behind. I lost, it was basically 6 decisions that I lost as an amateur. And, so now this time around, I just kind of focus on, my overall game and being prepared for everything. No matter how you put it, when you're in the cage, guys are throwing certain punches, they're throwing certain kicks. There's things that you do in the clinch, there's things you do on the ground. So I feel like if you just prepare for everything and, and get skilled at, all the things that, that you're good at, and try to implement that and try to work on your weaknesses, that you'll be fine once you get in there. I mean, everyone, can go in there with a game plan, but you know, you have to improvise at some point or another. So, you know, when I go in there, I don't have a specific game plan. I look for certain things. Like if a guy has a good left hook, you know, maybe I'm not dropping my hand so much on my right hand, you know. If a guy has a good uppercut, you know, maybe I'm not dipping my head as much.
Right.
If a guy has a good he has a good shot, a good takedown, maybe my stance is a little bit lower. You know, little things like that, just certain tendencies. You know, what does a guy do when he gets hit? Does he wrestle? Does he try to throw back? Does he run? So you look for little tendencies like that, but you don't look for specific things. You don't look for a guy to go, oh, he throws a 1-2 right head kick, you know, open up, you know, and you're sitting there waiting for that, and it never comes. You know, so that's how I pretty much approach my fights now.
Do you approach this fight thinking that if you win next Friday, you will be in the UFC?
I'm trying not to think about it because even when I was on that 6-fight winning streak, and I was watching, you know, certain guys in the UFC who are 8-1, 8-2, 7-3 get into the UFC. I was going thinking, okay, if I win this fight, I'm going to get in, and then I win, and it wouldn't happen. I was like, all right, if I win this fight, I'll get in, and it didn't happen. If I win this fight, I get in. So at this point, you know, it'll happen when it happens. I'm not thinking too far ahead of it. I'm just gonna go in there and, you know, put on the best performance I possibly can. And if I win, you know, I'll be back. Win or lose, I'll be back in the gym as soon as possible, and prepared for, you know, if I do get that call. Hopefully, I do this time around. You know, it's the beginning of the new year. I know they're looking to revamp their roster, and you know, I see a lot of the guys that they're pulling into UFC at 135, and no disrespect to them, but I feel like I can smash a lot of those guys. So hopefully, you know, they feel the same way, and they bring me in there, seeing if I do get a win.
I spoke to Chris Beal just before he went to Sweden last week, and he was on the verge of quitting MMA, and then he got the call to the UFC. He was thinking, I need to get a job, and I actually spoke to him way before that interview, before we got the call with the UFC, not an interview, just talking, and he was pretty down. He was pretty much almost done. You know, didn't get the contract after the Ultimate Fighter, and that was actually his first loss in Sweden, and he's been looking real good. And this is for Swedish MMA, so I want to speak about last week's card, which was very, very sad night for Swedish mixed martial arts. But at the same time, you know, it's been a lot of talk in Swedish media, not just mixed martial arts. It's been in the newspaper and pictures of Alex, you know, on the floor and very upset. What a lot of people don't realize is, you know, you win some, you lose some. And some people saying this is the end of Swedish mixed martial arts. First of all, I want to say to Akira, who's been a good friend of mine for many, many years. We actually went to the tryouts to the Ultimate Fighter together. Congratulations on a great career. I know you ended it after the the last fight. You showed some great wars in there, and thank you for the career that you've had. And next on is Alexander Gustafsson, obviously. And it's one specific question that I have. Some people say, I actually have two questions. One, Johnson mentioned that after the fight that he heard Alex Gustafsson's coach say, throw the push kick, and that he could capitalize on that. What do you think of that when it comes to a coach screaming out specific things? And do you really think that Johnson had the opportunity to do so?
Okay, I'm a big fan of having trust between you and your coach. And when your coach says something, you should naturally have that instinct to listen. I believe that. But I also am a big believer in using your instinct in the cage. Because the whole point of a training camp is to train your body and your mind, mentally and physically, to do exactly what you're preparing to do. So when you get in there, the situations you get stuck in, your muscle memory should kick in by itself and go, okay, I need to sprawl when he shoots in for a takedown. I need to throw the uppercut when he comes in close, whatever it may be. So I'm not a huge fan of like, put that finger around that head and maybe you'll get out there. I'm not a big fan of it. So to say that that's why somebody lost at such a high level, I mean, I don't know that I agree with that.
Do you ever hear your opponent's coach?
Sometimes.
I have.
But sometimes, but also as a fighter, you have to be smart enough to know that when your coach says, okay, you know, if you've been, let's say you've been game planning to take the guy down at the end of the round, like there's 30 seconds left for a minute left, and they shot out a minute. Like, all right, look for the takedown. You don't immediately go for the takedown. That's, you know, as a fighter, you have to have that fighter's IQ, that you don't just, okay, takedown, and then you just shoot.
Right.
Like, doesn't happen that way. You know, the coach says, all right, look for that takedown. Then you set it up. You go in there and you strike. You get the guy thinking you're going to strike. Maybe you fake it a little bit and come up with some more strikes, and then maybe he goes, okay. Then your opponent goes, Maybe his coach is trying to fake me out. Maybe he's not going to take me down. And then you take him down. You have to have that fighter's IQ that, when your coach yells that out, that you just don't immediately do it. It's not like a video game where you press a button and it automatically happens. So, I don't mind. I mean, I've had, times where I can remember, in at least my last couple fights where my coach will yell out, something, and I won't do it immediately, but I'll come and do it. Eventually it'll happen. I'll set it up.
Right.
And, so if that did happen where Alex's coach yelled that out and he did it immediately and it helped out Johnson, I would like to think that wasn't the case. But sometimes, I mean, you never know. It's a he's fighting in his hometown. He's the main event. He could add some pressure on him. Whether he shows it or not. And his coach yelled out something and he just kind of reacted to it. But again, that's where like Dario was saying, improvisation comes in. You got to be able to improvise. You got to be able to, your coach will yell out something. There's been times where my coach will yell out something, and then between rounds, he goes, "Why didn't you do it?" I'm like, "I just didn't feel it." And it's,
See the opening.
And that's where that trust factor, I think, comes in.
Yeah.
The coach trusting, okay, he's not doing it for a reason. Clearly, he knows something that's going on in there that I don't.
And, some people are criticizing Alexander Gustafsson's coach, and I just like to say that you hear coaches saying things all the time. Throw the left hook, that doesn't mean. And maybe he heard it and it happened and knew it was coming. Maybe so, but your coach is screaming things all the time throughout the round. So that's not why Alexander Gustafsson lost this fight. And then the second thing is the headbutt. Did you see the fight? Did you see the fight?
Listen, okay, so I'm sitting in my studio for my show watching the fight.
Yeah.
And the first words out of my mouth was, "Oh my God, that was a headbutt." And Jay Tan, my co-host, looked over at me and goes, "No, it wasn't." But he had already seen the fight. So, he was just looking at what everybody else was saying, that of course it wasn't a headbutt. My initial reaction to seeing the fight the very first time was, "Oh my God, that was a headbutt." So
headbutt.
I'm gonna go with my
I saw it immediately.
Yeah.
I saw it immediately. I was watching I was watching the fight actually with some friends, and immediately when they went to exchange, you could see Johnson's head turn to the left as Justice and they were both coming in, and he hit him and he wobbled him, and I was like, that was a headbutt. I was like, I can't believe the referee didn't see it. That was my first reaction. I'm like, why isn't the ref giving him some time? Like, that was immediately headbutt.
Yep.
But what I think what happened was the angle where the referee was, he was standing on the right side of Johnson where he threw the right hook at the same time, but the headbutt landed first before the right hook. So, I mean, honest mistake.
You feel that he should be given time to recover?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for me to say I've never reffed a fight. It's easy for me to sit there and say that, and I have the best, I'm sitting here watching the cameras and I don't have the crowd and everything yelling around me. It's easy for me to say. But from my point of view, from where I saw, it looked like he headbutted him pretty clearly.
Maria, did you see it?
I did not see it.
Maria's not a big MMA fan, by the way. She fights, but that's about it.
I'm a recluse.
I have to say as well, I saw it from the opposite angle, and I didn't even see the headbutt. But then obviously I've seen the video as well, and from the other angle, it does look like the headbutt hit. So I was going to say the only one that could really answer that question is probably Alex, but I'm pretty sure at that very moment that you don't remember what happened. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard, and I hope, I'm sure Alex will come back. He's a true warrior, and I look forward to seeing back in the cage again. So we have a pretty decent card tomorrow as well. Anderson Silva, Nick Diaz.
Now,
It's going to be a good fight.
I thought if there was going to be a fight on this card where a fighter wasn't going to make weight or some sort of drama or mishap was going to happen, I thought for sure it was going to be Nick Diaz.
What?
But it was...
How is he not going to make 185?
Yeah, that's very true.
Everyone's always giving
But if
Nick
there was
crap.
going to be some drama, I thought it was going to be caused by Nick Diaz, which there was a little. He was a little late. He didn't do the open workout, whatever. But Kelvin Gastelum missed weight by 9 pounds.
This isn't his first rodeo, though. He's done that, 2 or 3 times now?
This is his second time doing it in the UFC. But, I mean, come on.
I honestly, I had an opponent come in once, 12 pounds overweight. I honestly don't understand. Not only is it disrespectful and it's very unprofessional, obviously, but do you not step on a scale until the day of the fight?
What
Seriously.
kind of scientific mathematics is your nutritionist doing that you are so beyond off that it becomes 9 pounds? I don't understand.
I don't have a nutritionist, and I won't miss weight by 9 pounds. I had an opponent miss weight by 8 pounds as well, too. And it's like, at what point do you realize that you're not going to make weight by that much? You miss weight by 9 pounds, you know this 2 weeks out.
Right.
And the irony in it all is that I was watching the Embedded series that they do prior to the fights, and First of all, they showed Kelvin Gastelum happy as can be. He looked normal. He looked healthy. Of course,
At the
he's
shooting
100 pounds
range,
over.
right?
At the shooting range. And then they showed Tyron Woodley.
Checking his weight.
And he was all excited because he was the lightest he had ever been cutting weight. He's like, I feel good. You know, I'm walking around so much lighter, so I only have like 2 pounds to lose or something like that. So it was very, you know, contrary that Tyron Woodley had the best weight cut ever and Kelvin Gastelum had his worst.
Do you think that extra weight that Gastelum obviously going to have walking into that cage tomorrow when Woodley is lighter than ever and Gastelum is heavier than ever, is going to be of benefit to him?
Maybe. I think Woodley is still huge as shit anyway.
I was just going to say,
Yes.
Tyron Woodley's one of the biggest guys in the division, so I don't know how you could argue that.
Yeah.
You train with him, I train with him. Great
Yeah.
guy, very professional, so
Very
explosive,
professional.
so athletic. But Gastelum has proven himself. It's
Yeah.
some up and coming names.
This is definitely going to be a highly anticipated fight. You know, you have Mexico's finest up-and-coming star, and then you have Tyron Woodley, who, like you said, is explosive and so entertaining to watch. So I'm excited for that one.
Any takers?
That's a tough one to pick.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to pick. I would have. That's a tough one. I'm gonna go with Woodley just for the simple fact that Gastelum missed by 9
Did he
pounds.
made weight, right? Okay, that's fair.
And Dario, you had another interesting fact on female mixed martial arts.
I did a small one. Misha Tate, obviously a big name in women's MMA in the bantamweight division. The girl that has fought Ronda Rousey twice. The girl that has gotten Ronda Rousey past the second round. I think she's ranked is she number 2 right now or number 3? I'm not
3,
sure.
I believe, or maybe even 4.
She's facing Sarah McMahon, who is ranked number 3, I believe. And Misha Tate and her manager chose intentionally to be on the preliminary card opposed to the main card due to a certain statistic that the Fox Sports 1 prelims get more playtime and more viewership than any of the other main card aside from the main event. So the way they looked at it is, if we're not going to be the main event, let's get the next best slot as one of those prelim spots.
Main prelim event.
Main prelim event, which apparently gets a lot of views. I never knew
Invented
that.
here.
Invented here on MMAnytt.
You heard it here
Good
first.
thinking.
Right? So
Yeah.
whatever works, marketing, I mean, publicity, her manager's clearly looking in the right direction.
Business is business.
Yep.
Right.
Now, main event: Anderson Silva versus Nick Diaz. There's been a lot of talks about it. Nick Diaz fought as low as 155, and it's going up to 185. Anderson Silva's fought as high as 205. That size difference is pretty humongous. And Nick Diaz is not known for being a big guy, a muscular guy that has to cut a lot of weight. I love Nick. Does he have a chance?
No. I think he's going to be outclassed, outshone by Anderson Silva. The size difference probably is going to be a factor because Nick Diaz is a boxer and he likes to get inside and he likes to box. And when that's the case and there's a 20-pound difference or whatever it may be at the time of the actual fight, it's going to make a difference. And like I said, Anderson Silva is one of those guys that is almost too technical for his own good. You know what I mean? He's so elusive in a sense. And I think he's going to outclass Nick Diaz. But that being said, I think it's going to be a really interesting fight.
Maria?
I
You're just sitting there with a big smile.
Yeah,
You seem
because-
excited about
yeah,
the fight.
yeah, I'm
Are
actually.
you gonna actually watch this fight?
Yeah. I actually plan on going to watch this one. So, yeah.
But you won't be drinking or eating any hot wings, right?
No, unfortunately.
Speak for yourself.
Thanks for bringing that up. Thank you. I think it's going to be a good one. I'm excited to see what happens. But I feel kind of the same way. I don't think that he has what it takes to beat him.
Yeah.
What could Nick do in order to be? How could Nick Diaz beat Anderson Silva?
What he always does: rush people and hope that he's just in better shape than Anderson, and Anderson gasses. I don't think he'll be able to take him down. I think Anderson's too big. He's too fast. He's too elusive. His footwork. I think the biggest thing is going to be the footwork. Because Nick Diaz doesn't have the greatest footwork, and Anderson has some of the best footwork in all of MMA. I mean, even in even professional kickboxers, he could be a professional kickboxer.
Yeah.
And he has really good movement, and he uses his straight punches very, very well. He uses kicks very, very well. He's really good at controlling the range and the distance. He has good timing, he has good reactions, and Nick has this kind of smothering style, but he plods forward. And a lot of guys he kind of chases down, but I don't think he's gonna be able to corner and chase down Anderson. And then Anderson, with his his size advantage inside on the inside, and he grabs that tie clinch. No, you're not going anywhere. And I actually think that's how Anderson's gonna pretty much break him down. I don't know if he'll knock him out, but I think he'll control a lot in the clinch because I think Nick doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He's gonna if he has to run at him and run forward and grab him to try to punch him and put it against the fence, that's what he's gonna do. And I think that's what eventually what's gonna happen. He's gonna get tired of Anderson moving around and pop shotting him. Then he's gonna try to rush him. Anderson's just gonna control the clinch and just use those knees that he has in the clinch. And I think that's going to take place in the fight a lot.
How do you think Diaz's volume is going to match Anderson Silva's straightforward punches? Like, do you think Diaz is going to be able to get in and, like you said, he breaks CompuBox? Is it CompuBox?
Yeah.
Is that the term?
I mean, I definitely think he's going to try. He like I said, I mean, he doesn't care, man. He goes in there to fight, and that's what a lot of people love about him. He's a real genuine guy, and he just wants to fight.
Right.
And I think he's just going to go in there and he's going to try to knock Anderson out. And but I think it's just going to be too tough for him to to get inside, to be able to try to cut him off, and that when he does get inside, Anderson's just going to clinch him and knee him.
Yeah.
Nick's jiu-jitsu is great, and that's what people are saying. But I completely agree. I don't think Nick's wrestling is good enough to get, and Anderson's too big, and footwork, same thing, to get him to the ground where the jiu-jitsu is going to even be possible. And don't forget, Anderson Silva is also a black belt. Good enough and to be able to stop it. I agree. I think Nick's strength is his boxing, and if he can get on the inside and start doing damage there. And one thing I wonder is how much effect will that leg break have psychologically? Do you think we will see that left low kick tomorrow at all?
Maybe, because Nick is also a southpaw, so he's not throwing to the inside, he's throwing to the outside. It's a little harder to check and break it that way. But I expect him to see him throwing high kicks, the front snap kick. But I honestly don't even think he has to throw a kick. I don't think he has to throw a kick at all. They could just sit there and have a boxing match, and he's gonna have that speed advantage, he's gonna have that range advantage, and I don't think he has to throw a kick, but he might. I think Anderson's one of those type of guys that people are gonna he's gonna throw the kick. He'll throw it just because people are thinking that, just to like shut people up and be like, I can throw kicks again.
Right.
The UFC has been talking about super fights for a very long time. They were talking about GSP versus Anderson Silva versus John Jones. I was there when they asked Anderson Silva, then Anderson just went. And now John Jones has been helping Anderson for this fight.
Very interesting.
But this is the first true super fight, so to speak, where you get two guys from different weight classes matching up. Do you think we will see it in the future? And if so, who would you like to match up? And do not say Mighty Mouse versus Fabricio Verdun, please.
Funny enough, I'd like to see Mighty Mouse versus whoever the bantamweight champion ends up being. Yeah. Well, he's fighting Barral, so you don't know who's gonna in that fight. But I'd like to see. I mean, it doesn't seem like he has anybody that's gonna be matched up with him in the flyweight division anytime soon right now. I mean, maybe Ian McCall if he wins tomorrow, or Lineker, but I don't know if there's a big enough buzz around those two guys fighting him. But I'd like to see him move up in the bantamweight division. Also, Jones and Velasquez maybe in the future. I mean,
that's a good one.
Cormier is his training partner. Cormier was a heavyweight and walked around the kind of the same weight as that Kane does right now. And Kane's not a huge heavyweight. He's 240. John Jones. I've heard that he gets up to around 235, 240. And they're both wrestlers. Jones is not easy to take down, and he has that length. I think that would be interesting as well. But again, Kane has to get by Fabricio, who's shocking the world every time he fights now. So,
Maria, who would you like to see? Maria Rios versus Ronda Rousey.
I think that's what she'd like to see. Yeah.
I'd like to see Ronda Rousey fight Cyborg.
Oh,
so do I.
Super fights of all super fights. We got to get Cyborg into the UFC first, but I think that's in the works of happening. I've been seeing a lot of articles lately about Cyborg. I think they're throwing her name out there to get us used to her, which we all should be. But I think they're going to make a 145-pound division, so that might be able to happen.
Yes, and I spoke to Chris. Chris really wants that fight. She
Yeah.
actually said in an interview a long time ago, but she said it off camera as well. I would fight her in a parking lot for free.
Funny you say that because I spoke to Chris Cyborg too, and my intel told me that she said to me when I interviewed her at the last RFA, she said, "No Ronda Rousey right now. I can't make 135.
Yeah.
It's just not healthy for me," which I believe because she's a very large woman.
Yes.
But then she also said in the interview, which was very funny, is that she goes, Ronda Rousey competed judo at 160, 170, but she can't come up to 140 to meet me. So that's an interesting point. Not that the champ at bantamweight should go up to fight anybody, but hey, if you want some pay-per-view sales, that'll definitely do it.
But the bantamweight should go up.
But
in weight
you
to
should,
fight
Ronda
somebody.
Rousey, come on.
Yeah.
Just like Mayweather should fight Pacquiao.
Right? Man, if that doesn't
Get
happen,
close.
I swear to God, I'll never watch either one of them.
Yeah, that's got
Pacquiao wants to.
Yeah.
Pacquiao really wants to. I think another fight that might be fight of the night tomorrow is, you know who I think would be the fight of the night potentially.
Oh, is it
Come
on
on
this
now.
paper?
Yeah, right in front of you.
Oh,
We
I
spoke
I
about
think
it.
Tyron Woodley and Kevin Gastelum is going to be fight of the night.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's not. I actually think that.
Thiago Alves and Jordan May.
No.
Joe Lozon.
Joe
yeah,
Lozon,
yeah,
Ali
yeah.
Quinta. Yeah.
That
That's
I
gonna be a
think
good one.
has a good chance to win a bonus tomorrow night. Who do you think will win it?
I take Lozon.
Lozon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All around.
Yeah. All right. We all agree
What do you
on
think?
that one.
You agree?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too. I think, I think he's always dangerous. He's got some losses on his record, but it's also look at who he lost to. Some
Very good
some
point.
decent names. Guys, thank you for coming in. I know you're hungry. I know you're gonna go do cardio. We will see you at RFA next week. For you in Sweden and the rest of the world as well, for that matter, you can watch it on Access TV, and you can also watch the undercard. Are you on the main card or on the undercard?
The main card.
Main card.
Oh, so you are on TV, national TV in the US, but you can also watch it online, accesstv.com. Guys, look forward to seeing you, Cage, and what the future holds for both of you. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Good skills to you both.